Now let's get to the main talking point about this car, and that's that 2-liter 4-cylinder engine. Does this car deserve the AMG badge or not? Is it a proper AMG or not? So let's start to talk about that. Now let's get to the main talking point about this car, and that's that 2-liter 4-cylinder engine. Does this car deserve the AMG badge or not? Is it a proper AMG or not? So let's start to talk about that. The engine, the specs, first of all, it's got 402 horsepower, 500 Newton meters of torque. So yeah, the figures look good on paper. Also, to give you a perspective, this is more powerful than the outgoing V6. So the AMG engineers have definitely done a mind-boggling job. A 4-cylinder engine that develops more power than a turbocharged V6. And coming to the question of this being an AMG or not, let me tell you an interesting fact. The V6 in the older model was an engine off the assembly line. This one is a handmade engine by the AMG guys. So actually, this is more of an AMG engine than the previous model. So on that grounds, this scores far higher than the older model. But the big question is, does it drive like an AMG? And the quick answer to that is yes, a lot. Not a resounding yes, and I'll come to that why I say that, but yes, a lot like an AMG because off the line it accelerates in a very quick manner. It's got impressive acceleration, and we've been recording runs around 4.7, 4.8 seconds, but that's because the road is damp due to the overnight rain. On a better surface, if you hook up the tires, well, you should be able to get about 4.5 seconds standstill to the ton. So yes, good acceleration, and it goes through the gearbox in a very nice manner. It shifts quickly. It's got this 9-speed gearbox which has been mated well to the engine, but when you're pushing it hard. And that's a bit of an if that I have with this car. When you're pushing it hard, the gearbox really works like a charm, which is a good thing because at the end of the day, you would have spent more than 1 crore to buy a performance car, so you would want to go fast most of the times. So yes, the gearbox does the job brilliantly there, but when you're driving around in the city, the gearbox feels a bit jerky. A lot of time the gear shifts, they just feel a bit jittery. So that finesse that you find when you're pushing the car, through higher RPM, that is sort of missing in the lower revs. But it's not a problem that's acute, so you can easily live with it. And coming to the overall performance, like I said, great acceleration. You can easily cross 200 kilometers, go all the way up to the electronically limited top speed of 250 kilometers. And the other thing that we need to talk about, this being an AMG or not, is the sound. Now, for a 4-cylinder engine, one would expect it not to be that vocal, but surprisingly, it is. It is nothing like you would expect a 4-cylinder engine to sound. I mean, when I drove this car, I was pleasantly surprised because this doesn't sound like a 4-cylinder. It has got the roaring exhaust that you would expect from an AMG. You also have a button where you can enhance the exhaust sound. If you put it into Sports Plus, any which ways it sounds a bit louder. So when you add all of these things together, what you get is a car that sounds pretty much like an AMG should. And put all of these things together and you get close to what an AMG should drive like. Now let's get to the handling part. Handling, again, once you put it into Sports Plus, the suspension, the throttle response, all of it sort of comes together, and with the stiffer suspension setting, you can really push this baby around corners. It doesn't mind quick changes in direction. You can go through a sequence of quick changing corners and the C43 wouldn't put up any sort of a complaint. So yes, it's a great car to drive in terms of dynamics, the grip from the tires, the stability of the chassis, the electronics, the way they work, all of it just adds a lot to your driving experience. And speaking of ride quality, well, it is on the stiffer side, which should be, it's a performance car. But once you put it into comfort mode, it settles down in a very nice manner to the point that you can use it as a family car. It gets that good. So you can use it like a normal C class. I mean, it is that good. But when you want it to be aggressive, you can just turn the wick on and it transforms into a car that can just demolish corners the way you want it to be. The feel from the steering is good. Even the feel from the brakes is quite nice. The brake pedal gives you a good amount of feedback. So when you put all of these things together, you get a car that is engaging to drive. You can easily get a lot of confidence in the car, and that means you can push a car which is fast. So when you combine these things together, yeah, I think it's a pretty good AMG to have.